Welcome to District Command Central, your go-to source for the latest news and updates on the Washington Commanders. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, so you never miss a play when a young quarterback bursts onto the NFL scene with the kind of electricity that Jayden Daniels has brought to Washington this season. Fans can't help but dream big. They see flashes of greatness, moments that make them believe the franchise has finally found the guy, the one, who will bring stability, excitement, and wins to a team that has known mostly heartbreak for decades. But after last Sunday night's loss to the Seattle Seahawks, when Daniels went down holding his left elbow in visible pain, the energy around Washington shifted dramatically. For a few hours, it felt like the nightmare that every Commanders fan had been trying to forget was back again. The initial fear was that Daniels had suffered a season-ending injury, maybe even something that could derail his promising career before it truly began. But when reports surfaced that the damage wasn't as bad as initially feared, that there was no ligament tear, no need for immediate surgery, a small sense of relief spread across the fan base. It wasn't season-ending, it wasn't career-threatening, it was, in football terms, manageable. Still, one voice from the past isn't convinced that manageable is good enough reason to put Daniels back on the field this year. Robert Griffin III, the man who once carried the same franchise's hopes on his own back, knows all too well how quickly potential can vanish in the NFL. And now, from his position as an analyst and commentator, he's calling on the Commanders to protect their rookie sensation from the same fate that ended his own glory days in Washington. "I think they should sit him out for the rest of the season," Griffin said bluntly on his latest Out of Pocket with RGIII podcast. "I know they're going to reevaluate him after the bye week, but if this team isn't playing for a playoff spot or anything substantial, they should hold him out for the rest of the year." It wasn't just a take for shock value, it came from a place of lived experience, scar tissue, and regret. For those who remember, Griffin's words carry a haunting weight. Over a decade ago, in that same city and on that same field, then called FedEx Field, RGIII was the golden boy. He was the future. The 2012 season was supposed to mark the rebirth of Washington football. Griffin had captured the imagination of the league, combining speed, charisma, and efficiency in a way the game hadn't quite seen before. He was the Heisman winner, the node to overall pick, the symbol of hope. Then came the injuries, a sprained LCL, a torn ACL, and the painful playoff loss to the Seahawks that changed everything. What started as a fairy tale season ended in a career-altering collapse. And as RGIII limped off that field, the same one where Daniels just got hurt, Washington's long search for a true franchise quarterback began all over again. So when Griffin looked into the camera and said that Jayden's situation feels like the Twilight Zone, it wasn't hyperbole, it really is eerie. Outside of the surface-level stuff, black quarterback, second pick, Heisman winner, hurt on the same yard line on the same field against the same team. It's not the same, he said, almost as if trying to convince himself as much as the audience. "Trust me, it's wild, it's like the Twilight Zone, some voodoo stuff." You could almost hear the frustration beneath his voice, the weight of history repeating itself. Griffin doesn't believe this new Commanders organization, now under Josh Harris's ownership, is the same dysfunctional group that once mishandled his career. But he also knows the unforgiving nature of the NFL, the pressure to win, the temptation to rush a player back before he's truly ready, the belief that youth and toughness can overcome any pain. That mindset nearly ended his career. And now, he's determined not to watch it happen again to another young star wearing the same uniform. The Commanders are 3-7. Realistically, the playoffs are out of reach. The offensive line is inconsistent. The defense has been a mess since the midseason trades that sent away key starters. So what exactly is there to gain by putting Jayden Daniels back on the field this year? Maybe a couple more highlight throws, a few more flashes of potential, but at what cost? If his elbow takes another hit, if the injury worsens, if he develops bad habits while playing hurt, the ripple effects could last years. That's what Griffin is warning against. He's not saying Daniels isn't tough. He's not questioning his competitiveness. He's trying to save him from the machine that chews up and spits out young quarterbacks who don't know when to protect themselves. "I tip my hat to Josh Harris and this team," Griffin said, acknowledging the changes in leadership. "But if this team isn't playing for something meaningful, they need to protect their investment, protect their player, protect the kid." it's easy for fans to forget that quarterbacks like Daniels aren't superheroes, even if they move like one on the field. In 6 games this season, he's thrown for 1,184 yards, 8 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions. He's been the Offensive Rookie of the Year frontrunner. Showing poise and confidence that belied his age, he's given Commanders fans something they haven't had in a long time, belief, but belief can be dangerous when it blinds you to reality. Daniels has already missed for games with injuries this year, and now the elbow issue could become a lingering problem if not handled properly. It's not just about this season. It's about the next decade. Washington has seen this movie before, and the ending wasn't pretty. Griffin's perspective comes with emotional baggage, sure, but it also comes with wisdom earned the hard way. Back in 2013, when he suffered that devastating knee injury in the wild card game, he wanted to keep playing. He begged to stay in the game, and the coaches let him. The rest is history. The ACL tear, the surgeries, the setbacks, the whispers that he wasn't the same anymore. It all came crashing down so fast. The once explosive playmaker became a cautionary tale. Every time he dropped back after that, you could see the hesitation, the loss of that spark that made him special. He's been open about the pain of that period in his life, how the franchise handled his recovery, and how his own competitive drive became his downfall. I haven't spoken to much in depth about my time in DC, he said. I even scrapped a book because I didn't feel like it was the right time to have that conversation. Eventually, there will be a time to have that convo. That time might be soon, and it might start with how Washington handles Jayden Daniels. For the Commanders, this moment could be a turning point. Under Josh Harris, the franchise has been trying to rebrand itself not just in name but in culture. They want to be a team known for smart decisions, long-term vision, and player care, not the dysfunction and short-sighted moves that define the Dan Snyder era. Sitting Daniels, even if he says he's ready, would send a powerful message that the organization has learned from its past. It would show maturity, it would show patience, and most importantly, it would show that they value their quarterback's future more than a meaningless December win. Washington has cycled through over a dozen quarterbacks in the past 2 decades. They've drafted, traded, and signed every kind of player imaginable, but they've never had someone quite like Daniels, a dual-threat talent with leadership qualities, charisma, and the respect of the locker room. He's worth protecting. If you're Jayden Daniels, though, that's a hard pill to swallow. You've been fighting your whole life to prove you belong. You've heard the critics, the comparisons, the doubts. Sitting out goes against every instinct in your body. Competitors compete. That's what they do. And Daniels is a competitor through and through, but this is where the people around him, coaches, doctors, management, have to step in and make the decision for him. This isn't about pride. It's about preservation. Sometimes the bravest thing a player can do is say no. And sometimes the smartest thing a franchise can do is protect a player from himself. As the Commanders head into their bye week, the decision looms large. The medical staff will reevaluate Daniels. The coaches will talk about next man up, and the fan base will hold its breath. But if RGIII's plea does anything, it should remind everyone what's at stake. It's not just an elbow. It's not just a game. It's the foundation of a franchise that's been searching for an identity for far too long. Griffin's career was derailed in Washington. But maybe, just maybe, his words can help prevent history from repeating itself, because sometimes the best lesson a team can learn comes not from the wins and losses, but from the ghosts of seasons past. If Washington truly wants to build something lasting, they'll take RGIII's advice to heart. Sit Jayden Daniels, let him heal, let him come back next season stronger, wiser, and ready to lead a new era. The city has waited long enough. There's no need to rush the future, especially when the future finally looks bright. If you're enjoying the coverage, make sure to smash that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the Commanders' latest moves. We want to hear from you. Man, if you've been following the NFL this offseason, you already know things have been heating up in Washington, and now things might have just exploded to a whole new level. Terry McLaurin, yes, the star wide receiver who has been the heartbeat of the Commanders' passing game for years, apparently isn't holding anything back anymore. Word on the street, and I mean straight from inside sources, is that McLaurin has had enough of all the noise, the front office drama, and the constant uncertainty surrounding the team. And he is reportedly making it very clear, no one, absolutely no one, wants him back in Washington. That's right, Terry McLaurin, one of the most reliable and electrifying receivers in the league, is allegedly saying loud and clear that the Commanders are no longer his place now. Before you start thinking, this is just some clickbait rumor floating around, let's break it down and dig into why this could be more than just talk. Why it could actually shake the entire NFC East and possibly ripple across the league. Think about it for a second. McLaurin has been the silver lining in what has otherwise been a pretty turbulent tenure with Washington. He's had the clutch catches, the highlight reel touchdowns, the games where it felt like he was single-handedly keeping the team afloat. Fans have loved him, commentators have raved about him, and yet, despite all of that, there seems to be a wall between him and the franchise that just can't be crossed. Insider whispers suggest that it's not just about money or a contract dispute, although let's be real. We know the business side is always a factor, it's deeper. There's frustration over the lack of commitment to building around him, over inconsistent quarterback play, and perhaps most importantly, over the feeling that the organization doesn't truly value what he brings to the table. And now, according to sources close to McLaurin, he's reportedly told people close to him, in no uncertain terms, that he doesn't want to return. That's not a subtle hint, that's an outright declaration. And if you've ever seen McLaurin on the field, you know he plays with heart, pride, and a fierce sense of professionalism, so when he says something like this, it carries weight. Now, here's where it gets really juicy. The Commanders' front office has been tight-lipped, which is typical for any franchise in these situations. But the vibe around the league suggests this isn't something that's going to just blow over. Quietly, teams are reportedly already circling, taking notes, thinking about how they might get in on what could be a blockbuster move. Imagine McLaurin, at the peak of his powers, available on the trade market. The number of teams that would instantly be in on, that is staggering. We're talking contenders who need a legitimate number one receiver to make a push for the playoffs. And this isn't just about talent. This is about a player who's proven he can carry a team in big moments, who can turn games around, who demands respect every time he steps on the field. The ripple effect of him leaving Washington could redefine the NFC landscape entirely. There's also chatter. And I want to stress that this is rumor level, so take it with a grain of salt. But insiders are saying that locker room dynamics may be part of the story. Apparently, McLaurin has been frustrated, not just with management, but also with the way decisions have been made around the team, draft, picks, coaching changes, even the culture in the locker room. We're talking about a player who has consistently shown loyalty, yet he's reportedly feeling that his loyalty hasn't been reciprocated. That, my friends, is dangerous territory for any franchise. When a player of McLaurin's caliber starts feeling undervalued or sidelined, it's not just a negotiation tactic, it's a potential departure signal. A sign that the foundation for a major move could already be laid. And the timing couldn't be more interesting, with the offseason heating up, teams positioning themselves for free agency, and the draft looming. Now, let's talk about the fans, because this is going to stir the pot big time. Washington fans have adored McLaurin for years. He's been the bright spot in some dark seasons. The player who made highlight reels week after week even when the team struggled. If he does leave, or if he's already signaling that he's done with Washington, the backlash could be intense. Social media is going to explode. Podcasts will go wild. And the narrative around the franchise could shift dramatically overnight. And don't underestimate the pressure that puts on the Commanders' management. When a star player of McLaurin's stature makes it clear he's not coming back, it forces tough questions about the team's direction, its leadership, and its credibility in the league. What makes this even more tantalizing is the uncertainty surrounding his next destination. There are plenty of teams that could use a weapon like him. Imagine him in a high-octane passing offense, surrounded by elite talent, or maybe even as the centerpiece of a rebuilding team that's ready to pivot around him. The speculation alone is going to keep insiders busy for weeks, maybe months. Every passing day could bring a new rumor, a new potential landing spot, a new twist in what's already shaping up to be one of the more dramatic offseason sagas we've seen in recent years. And let's not forget, McLaurin is still young, still in his prime, and still one of the most feared receivers on the field. This isn't about a player past his peak or declining in skill. We're talking about a guy who is at the height of his abilities and wants an environment that matches his ambition. For teams looking for a game changer, a player who can instantly alter the dynamics of their offense, he's the definition of that. And for Washington, if this rumor solidifies, it could be a defining moment. Either they find a way to keep him and prove their commitment, or they risk losing him and reshaping the franchise identity entirely. The most fascinating part of all this, the tension, the drama, the will dash he dash stay dash or dash will dash he dash go energy that surrounds the Commanders right now is palpable. It's the kind of rumor that fuels endless speculation, threads, YouTube commentary, and late-night debates, and honestly, it's rare to see a player come out in such a forthright, no-filter manner. McLaurin reportedly doesn't care about sparking controversy. He's focused on what's best for him and his career. That level of candor is exciting, but also terrifying if you're a Washington fan, because it's almost like a ticking clock. Will the team meet him where he is? Or is this the start of the end of an era? And here's the kicker, even with all the uncertainty, all the drama, and all the whispers flying around, one thing is undeniable. Terry McLaurin has commanded attention like no other, whether he stays or goes. The NFL world is watching closely, waiting to see the next move, waiting to see which franchise might land one of the league's most dynamic talents. This isn't just a rumor. Folks, this is potentially the first chapter of a huge story that could define the next season, and maybe even beyond. Teams, fans, and media alike will be on high alert, analyzing every word, every social media post, every interview. And if the whispers are true, if McLaurin really has said what's being reported, no one here wants me back for the Commanders, then buckle up, because this could be one of the most talked about off-seasons in recent NFL history. So, stay tuned, because this saga is far from over. Insider whispers, locker room tensions, franchise decisions, and potential trades are all converging in what might be a career-defining moment for Terry McLaurin. Whether he remains in Washington or becomes the centerpiece of a blockbuster move, one thing is for sure, the NFL world is about to witness something big, and for those of us who live for drama, rumors, and explosive stories, this is exactly the kind of buzz that keeps us glued to our screens, speculating, debating, and waiting for that next bombshell update that could change everything. Thanks for tuning into District Command Central. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for all the Commanders news you need. Until next time, keep the faith and hail to the Commanders.